Are we live? Welcome back to another episode of Aromatic Fragrances International. We currently have two guests that we have today, and one of them is Justin, and the other one is Lukas. Both of them employees of the company, and we kind of wanted to do this segment to go over what happens after you've been hired in. So we went through the process of coming, but now we need to learn on your 90-day evaluation, right? And then after that, you got a one-year evaluation. How are you going to make more money in the company, and what are the things that we're looking for? So I think this is just good from people on the outside who are new working for a company, or even ones that are getting bad evaluations, what people are looking for as far as like the management and the owners, right? So with that being said, what do you think should be one of the top priorities for an evaluation?
Definitely show up on time every single day consecutively.
Okay, so attendance,
Definitely.
actually not missing days, and being here on time. I'd say that's key. Okay. What else do you think?
Work ethic, like while you're here, staying on task, getting everything, like getting stuff done,
Okay, work ethic is definitely important. When you have a task, how do you finish it? Does someone have to come behind you and clean stuff up? Is it done correctly? Have you been trained and you're following all those steps all the way through? It's very good. Okay. So on time, good work ethic. What would be next?
Definitely team player.
Team player, I think, is more a vague term. So team player works well with a group. What if all the people that are in your group are nasty individuals?
So this Sunday we're all going to church.
It's true, right? So let's say you have a bad manager. The other two employees are long-term friends, so they have a clique going on. It's hard for you to fit into that group. So you can only really evaluate an employee on what they can control, right? So you can control being here on time. You can control putting in a lot of effort and trying to go above and beyond. But as far as the circumstances going on with everybody else, you can't really control that, okay? So when you do an evaluation, you have all of these certain things that they want to go over, right? When I teach somebody to do something and they're trained, do they retain that information, or do I have to go over it 2, 3, 4, 5 times, right? So if you're a fast learner, I'm going to teach you once and you're going to get it, and that's going to be great. The next thing that we want to go over is as you're going through the process of a department. So let's say you're responsible for compounding, right? Your lab tech. Well, do you actually know where the raw materials are, and are you picking up on that? Is your accuracy good? So you don't have any rejects, you don't have any stuff coming back that's rework, right?
Yeah.
So your quality of work is good. The next thing on that is, are you going above and beyond, right? So a lot of people will do evaluations and they'll put 10s all the way across the board. A 10 is something that's almost unattainable. A 10 should be, you're here on time, right? So to you, what does meaning being here on time mean? So you're scheduled at 8 o'clock. What time should you be here?
So if you work like 8 to 5 and on time, to me it's like you're here every single day between 8 and 8:05. I feel like that's on time every single day. Like consistently.
Okay, so if I'm doing your evaluation,
Yeah.
you're getting a 5 because you're on schedule to be here at 8 and you're telling me you're coming in late at 8:05. That's not an 8 or a 9 or a 10 because you're not here on time. You're late. If you got here 15 minutes early to drink a cup of coffee and then get at your desk at 8 and start working, that's a 10. Because you weren't here on time, you were actually here early. So that's above and beyond. That's how you get a 10, right? Okay, so let's put that practice into you're the manager and you're evaluating an employee, right? So you've actually learned a lot of different things, okay? So to me, when I'm doing your evaluation, I'm going to look at it and say, okay, the bare minimum for the job was learn how to compound, load the GCs. So now if you're learning all these extra steps on top of it, your evaluation is going to go well because he's trying to learn more. Now, what a lot of employees miss by this is you're hired as a compounder, but instead of compounding, you're trying to learn other things on top of it. No, you have to do your job as a compounder, and then in your spare time, you're asking people, hey, how does that work? Hey, can I help you with that? Hey, above and beyond. You see that above and beyond keeps coming up. If you're the person that everybody knows in that department is covering their job and some, and when everybody has a question, that's the person that they go and ask, that's the guy who's going to have a good evaluation and move up within the company, right? Okay, so attendance, work ethic. So how about you have a really fast worker, his productivity is through the roof, but you go over to his desk and there's stuff everywhere. Is that good or is that a problem?
That's a problem.
Because that's housekeeping, right? It's keeping your area clean, organized. If they're not doing that, that's a major hit, right? That's like saying, I'm the best chef in the country, but if you go in my kitchen, it'll fail a health inspection.
Yeah, you can't have that.
It doesn't really work,
Yeah.
right? So on time, clean, good productivity. What's the next thing that we're looking for?
Constantly, improving every day, and you're staying on target, but it's not like for a couple weeks, it's consistently.
Consistency is key. So you can't be on time for 3 or 4 months, and then you're late 5 or 6 times back to back, and then have a good week, and then the following week it falls apart again. So when you're doing evaluation, it's over a period of time. The most important evaluation that you're going to go through is your first 90 days. If you miss a couple days because you're sick, you're late a couple of times because issues come up, maybe you're not learning as fast as you should, your productivity is not where it needs to be, all of those things are going to count against you a lot more because they're evaluating you in a smaller window. Here's where that doesn't help you in a long window. So now you have 12 months, right? So the first 3 months, you're dynamite. You're coming in early, you're knocking stuff out, your desk is spotless, everything's good. 11 months, 5 days in, you have 2 rejects, your car breaks down, you're late, you come in and maybe you spilt coffee all down your shirt. The only thing that they're going to remember is that last couple of days before your evaluation. So you had that whole beginning 3 or 4 months or even 9 months that went great. Your evaluation's only going to be on what's going on in your life the last couple of weeks. And it happens. We're humans because that's all we remember, right? You being employees, do you think there's a max out on what they can give you money-wise on your evaluation?
I guess it just depends on the quality of work you're putting in.
Okay, so let's look at this.
I'm sure there's
So let's say
cap.
right? That's where you're key. So, and that's what I was trying to get to. But let's say you're doing a good job and you're getting $1 or $2 raise because you're starting out, right? Well, now all of a sudden you have a job that's maybe it's lab tech. I'll put it this way. Do you think a lab tech should make more than a lab manager?
No.
Why?
Lab tech, you need to focus on compounding, getting the samples out. As the manager, she's doing everything in the background that you don't see.
Okay, so the lab tech has a certain dollar amount because their job is a specific task.
Correct.
Right? And the manager should make more because the manager is actually doing everything above that. So they're making sure that the products are shipped. They're making sure that the techs are actually compounding it. They may be labeling. They may be talking with customers. They might be dealing with customer service. They might be doing paperwork. I mean, there's all kind of things that happens as a manager, and a manager is supposed to be managing the employees, right? So the lab tech always needs to make less than the manager, but if the lab tech wants to make more money, what is their only option?
You got to move up to a manager.
Okay, so you have a lab tech that's been there 3 or 4 years, and they've gotten a couple dollar raise each year. So now all of a sudden they're starting to hit a cap. Let's just pick a number, $20 an hour. And they're like, okay, I want to make more than $20 an hour. How am I going to do that? I have to become as good as the manager, right? So if that's the case, and you're going through your evaluation, and you've been at a company a year, how are you guys going to make more money?
Once we hit the cap, how are we gonna
So you have
move on from that?
Right. So you have to be here on time.
Mm-hmm.
Be on top of everything that the manager is asking you to do. You have to be the highest in productivity, right? Because you don't want to just get average. And then after a couple of years, you need to be at the point that you're looking to become a manager. Now, should everybody be a manager?
No.
No. Why do y'all say that?
The reason everyone can't be a manager is because we need people to be compounders, and that's all they do all day. Nothing else, just compounding, if not refilling bottles. But then we need other people to be managers so they can, do the shipping or do the labeling or doing this, and they just need to be focusing on that.
Okay, so from your point of view, you have to look at it as there can only be so many chiefs and so many Indians,
Yeah.
right? So you only need one manager over a department, and then all the employees underneath should be trying to strive to max out and hit their cap, right? But not everybody should be a manager. I think what happens to a lot of people is they decide, I want to be a manager, and they don't realize the responsibility and all the things that go into it. But the manager also gets evaluated, right? So now we've kind of looked at what the employee gets evaluated on, right? And then what's considered a 10 and what's considered a 5 or what's considered a 0 or a 1. But we also talked about the evaluation on the good side. What's going to go for a bad evaluation?
We're talking about manager, right?
No, the employee.
Oh,
What would be
employee.
a bad evaluation for an employee? Not being here on time,
Yeah.
quality of work,
Yeah,
not being as good.
not picking up on anything that you're being taught, like having to ask the same question over and
Yeah.
over and over again.
That's a good one.
You're not retaining what you've been taught. So
Okay. So there's a fine line between a bad evaluation and getting fired at the evaluation. What causes that?
I think you getting fired if she has to repeat herself, like, let's just say more than 2-3 times a day, if not every other day, and you
Okay.
already been written up 3 times. I think at that point it's like, this job ain't for you. You need to go somewhere else.
This is where evaluations can actually go bad. So everybody wants an evaluation, so they can actually say, okay, I should get a raise, and this is what I need to do, and da-da-da-da. But also an evaluation causes a manager to stop and look at you and evaluate you, right? So you're not really on the radar. You might be doing an okay job until it comes down to that manager to actually stop and say, okay, what has this employee done for the last 12 months? They're going to look at how many days you've had off. They're going to look at your attendance, when you're coming in, your productivity, all that stuff. How's their desk? Do they keep it clean? Is it organized? Da-da-da. Well, what happens is they might actually say these 3 other employees are doing a great job, but if I compare these 3 to my 4th tech, he's doing a horrible job.
Yeah.
So they might come to you and say, look, here's all the stuff that you need to improve upon, and we're going to give you another 90-day evaluation, and they might actually just can you. I mean, that happens a lot. So you have to remember that evaluations can go both ways. You just need to make sure that you're giving it your all, and hopefully you're at the next level. Now, let's just take a snapshot from the manager, right, that's looking at you guys. So now you have a manager above you, and I'm evaluating the manager. What am I going to evaluate the manager on?
Definitely to make sure she's keeping up with all the employees, with their numbers, their productivity, and what's going on with the lab, just with everything, and she's on top of it all.
Okay, so now what's going to happen is I'm going to evaluate that whole department. I'm going to evaluate all the employees that work there, right? I'm going to say, okay, they got 4 or 5 techs. The tech's productivity as a whole is good or bad. Does that department look organized and clean as a whole, right? And then I'm going to look at whatever that department was responsible for. If it's samples going out the door, I'm going to look at the numbers. I'm going to see if there was any errors, if we had any rejects, we had any customer complaints, whatever that situation is. And then it's making me evaluate that department. So it could actually be a bad evaluation for that manager because that department's going downhill, because that falls on that manager. So the manager might say, well, if I had some decent people, I wouldn't have the problems, right? But that manager was responsible for hiring those people, monitoring those people, and deciding if we should have swapped out those people.
So at the end of the day, she can't blame her employees. It's actually her fault. So
Correct.
that would lie on her.
She has to fall on the sword
Yeah.
because she's responsible for everything that's going on in that area. So that's the other side you have to look at. And not everybody should become a manager, right? I mean, you might be happy as a compounder and you have other stuff going on. You might have kids or whatever, and you're like, I just want to come in, work my 8 hours, and go home. But when I'm here for those 8 hours, I'm going to give you everything I got. Everything's going to be clean. I'm going to be here on time. I'm going to be productive. And I'm going to have a smile. And I'm going to be happy. And we're all good. Right? I think one of the things that comes up is people's emotion. Right?
yeah,
I always say you can walk around And half the company looks like they found a wallet, and half the company feels like they lost a wallet, right? It's good day, bad day. But every day the employee should come in smiling, ready to have a good day. You can walk around and see some people walking in the door and they look like they're already having the worst day that they possibly could. They've only been awake for 30 minutes. How could their day be that bad?
Mondays are rough.
Yeah.
Says the man that lives for the weekend. That's the type of stuff you have to look at, though. It's part of it, right? I don't think you're expecting people to go above and beyond, but you do have to think of the things that we evaluate on and the things that we don't. But that's part of the job of being a manager. Like, you have to evaluate the guy and say, here's where you're at. Now,
Yeah.
you have to be fair to them, right? Because this is the other thing I see with managers, is they don't pull the employee aside and say, hey, look, you're missing too many days. Hey, your productivity's sliding. You got to step it up, right? You can't wait a year and then tell that person, hey, for the last 6-8 months, you weren't doing anything.
Agreed.
That's a bad manager, right? So you have to look at it from both sides. You have to look at it from the employee side and the manager side. So let's say we do an evaluation for an employee, and that's why you actually do a sheet, and you fill it out, you go down. And the manager's like, you're bad at showing up for work. Your quality of work's not very good. Your cleanliness is not good. I don't see this, I don't see that, and they put you down as 5s. And then they hand that sheet over for you to sign. And you're like, well, I don't agree with that. I've been here on time, I've done this, I've done that. That's where the employee's like, no, I'm not signing this. I feel like this is a witch hunt. It's not fair. And then we can have someone else sit in and say, okay, what's the problem? What's going on, right? Because if the manager didn't say anything to him for 9 months, and now all of a sudden it goes down for his evaluation, and then they're just trashing on him,
Yeah,
well, no, that goes back on the manager, right?
Yeah, that's not the employee's fault, definitely manager's
Because you
fault.
didn't tell me to correct anything. I thought I was doing a good job and everything was going well. That's where you have to make sure you're fair on the manager side. Okay, so you've actually learned extractions, compounding, GC. I mean, out of most people, you've already absorbed more than most. So that's actually pretty impressive. So I would say as far as your evaluation, it should be pretty good. Your attendance seems to be good. I mean, all the stuff that I've seen, right, from my side, but again, I'm not your manager. So the person who's sitting there day in, day out next to you is going to have more information. But just for me, from the outside, that's how I look at it. All right. So I would say from both of you guys, I wouldn't see you taking out managers overnight, but I could see you both getting to those certain levels, especially as the company grows and we start getting different divisions and maybe even a night shift other than just production, that all those opportunities should come open, right? So I just think it's fair that you guys should know how an evaluation works, how's the best way to score on it, and the above and beyond. Because I think a lot of people are like, oh, I hope my evaluation goes good. You should already know before you go into the evaluation how it's going to go. Right. And you should already know, my attendance has kind of been bad. I know I kind of screwed a couple of things up. So if you actually go into the evaluation and you just say, I know attendance has been a problem. I'm going to take care of that. I won't be late no more. I know I've been screwing up lately. I haven't been getting up enough sleep. I'm good now. Everything should line up. Maybe you had some personal issues. Just be open about that. This is where I'm at. But moving forward, I'll be good. You'll still have a decent evaluation. But if you go in there and you're like, nah, I'm always on time. And the manager has to like pull time cards out and be like, no, but look, here's how many times you've been late. If you start getting very defensive, it doesn't go very well, right?
Nah.
And you personally know by taking personal inventory of yourself how the evaluation is, right?
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, at least 50% of the population is like, oh, hope my evaluation goes good this time. What are you hoping, that the manager was drunk last night and just doesn't remember the last 12 months? And it's just like, oh, this person's great. I'm going to give him a massive raise.
Nah.
No, it's based on your work performance, right? It's what have you done for that company over that window of time.
Yeah.
Most important, 90-day evaluation, usually yearly evaluations after that, and y'all know what to do, right?
That's it. Yep.
All right, so which one of you two want my job? All right, we'll leave it at that. Follow us on social media.
Has anybody seen Josh?